Hey guys, in this video we are going to be going over each of our top 3 bolt-action rifle picks of if we were going to be in World War I, which might be a funny way to say, what's your top 3 favorite rifles of World War I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we each picked our 3, and luckily they're mostly different. We mostly picked different ones,
Yes.
which I think is a little bit more interesting for the audience. I guess, do you want to go ahead and start with your number 3?
Yes. I will start by saying I am left-handed.
Okay.
So I shoot rifle left-handed.
I'm sorry
yes.
to hear that.
So my choices might be a little bit different because of that. So number 3 for me would be 1917, specifically in 30-06. I don't want to mess with rimmed ammo.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I really love these rifles. I have one. For me, it's very accurate. It is heavy, but I like the handling of it. I like the long sight radius. It's just a good rifle for me.
Yeah, the 1917 is a slight improvement over the P14, so it's definitely it. That's like a go-to, or probably from a lot of people watching this, the 1917 is going to be their number 1 pick.
Yes.
Like, everybody loves that, and I'm not sure if everybody who picks the 1917 as their number 1 has owned one, shot one, or carried one around for a while. We were talking about another gun, specifically how some guns are just like bigger than they look, or some guns are just like smaller than they look, and it's kind of like an odd visual thing.
Mm-hmm.
The 1917 is bigger than it looks.
Yes, it is, and it is heavier than it looks as well.
Yeah, it's bigger. It's big, long, heavy, and bulky. It's just kind of a chunky, bulky gun. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of mass, which is kind of why it's not in my top 3 at all. I like it. It's not a bad choice. I'd rather have a 1917 than a 1903, but
I would as well. I did not. I would rather have a 1917 than a 1903 because the sights are so much easier. You don't have the battle calculator. It is a battle sight, and I like that.
And the long sight radius, which is a plus, and the aperture sight. A lot of people are crazy about aperture sights, which I'm like lukewarm. I'm kind of okay either way with, like, I like old, V-notch, or barleycorn sights. I'm okay with those and okay with aperture, so I'm like somewhere in the middle. I don't know, which kind of sights do you prefer? Do you prefer the aperture, or?
I tend to be more accurate with an aperture, which is strange because I don't really know. I feel like with a V-notch sight, I can hold the rifle up, I can look in the sights, and I know I have the same sight picture. With an aperture sight, I hold it up and I'm like, yep, that's about what it looked like before, I think. But
it is probably a more accurate sight, or capable of being more accurate with the sight. I think apertures are better for like target shooting or on the range.
Very much so.
But I don't know if I would prefer to have an aperture in combat, especially with like a rare aperture like an M1, like the M1 aperture. It takes up like a lot of your vision. So like as you're looking through it, it's kind of a tube. It blocks out a lot of stuff around it, especially the rear sight on the 1917. If you flipped it up,
yes,
it's kind of blocking quite a bit of your vision. Maybe not a whole lot. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, or even if you looked at a picture. But holding the gun and looking through it, I think I prefer like the open top sights, where you just have your sight base and like your front sight, and then it's all open. You can see everything. I don't know if like the slight increase in accuracy is important enough to take away from sight picture. That's sort of my opinion on it.
Yeah, I do feel it's a little bit faster to acquire sight picture for me. So if I shoulder the rifle, I feel like I'm on target. I can look, shoulder, and be good. Whereas if you have a different rifle that has V-notch, a barleycorn, whichever, it may take you a second to find that front sight post.
That's a good point. That's a good point too. It can be faster, but I'm sure, practice and range time, what you're familiar with, and also like the stock of the rifle can be a big part of that. Especially, I don't know if you notice, like with like Argentines, like when you shoulder it, you kind of shoulder it and you're like, I don't see the sights, and you kind of have to like put your head back and smush it down, and then you can see them.
Yes.
So the rifle itself and the stock contour does have play in a bit with your sight picture as well. But that's a long roundabout way of saying that it's not a bad gun, but I don't know. The 1917 is not in my three, even though so many people love it, including good shooters and everything. So it's just IMO.
Yeah. So what's your number 3?
I thought about this a lot, and it's almost more of like it's my number 3 because of its like good qualities on paper, but also I think everybody knows I'm a big carbine fan. Especially like in combat and everything, you're going to be carrying the gun around like 95% of the time, and not actually shooting it. So for me, I like carbines, light, handy. But then if you have like a real, short and small, light, handy carbine, you don't want one in a big caliber like 8mm or something like that, like the Lebel Berthier, or not Lebel, the Berthier carbine. I wouldn't want one of those. That hurts. But I would take a carbine in something like a sweet 6.5. So a nice soft shooting 6.5, but that also has plenty of power as far as going up against people. Obviously, we're just sticking with the wartime, or the war involved countries. So like combatants. That's the word. We're just sticking with the combatants of this. So obviously, I'd probably pick a sweet M94 in here instead of the Carcano carbine. But 6 rounds is nice. The 1917 holds 6 rounds as well.
Yes, it does.
But the clip is only 5. So you'd have to have like a loose round and remember to like chunk a loose round in, like load your 5 and then like drop an extra one to actually take advantage of it. Whereas this, it's in the end block. It's a 6 round end block clip. Bang, it's loaded up. And this is faster to load. The Mannlichers are faster to reload.
They are.
Trade-off for that?
What if the clip's bad, though?
The trade-off
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the clip is your feed lips?
Yes.
And you ding your clip, or your modern shooter, and you're using old clips, old reused clips that are bent out of shape. It might not be the most reliable gun because of all that stuff. Also, these aren't super well known for having the best feeling bolt, and for being the most well made. But it's good enough.
Yes.
It's a good enough gun. It's a light handy carbine, side slung. This is good. You could carry this around all day on your back or something, and kind of forget about it most of the time. And then if you need it, you have 6 rounds of 6.5 on tap. That's quick to reload, and it works. It's mostly it's a mostly reliable gun. So
it's just good enough, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Like they Carcanos are given a lot of shit on the U.S. market, which is not all the rifle's fault. Some of it has to do with the inaccuracy of American ammo. Some of it is just, I think we're just kind of used to nicer, more designed
refined
rifles. Yeah. I mean, this is an 1891 design. It's really old.
Yes.
Like a lot of the bolt actions that we're talking about, like the 1917, I was way later than that. It's decades after a gun like this was designed. So it's an older one. Maybe if they spend another 10, 20 years refining this one, then this would be amazing. But it's not. So mostly because of its characteristics on paper. 6 round, fast reloading mag, 6.5, short, light, handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, side slung. Yep.
Okay.
Now for our number 2. Your number 2, I don't have yet.
I don't either.
But we have a substitute.
Yes. I would go with a Greek Mannlicher Schonauer in 6.5 Mannlicher Schonauer. We have a Dutch, so similar action. The Greeks are flush fit 5-shot magazines. They feed with stripper clips. I have a friend who has one. It is very smooth, very fast. It's light. I've come to learn, like, you are a carbine person. I like accuracy. I want to know what I'm shooting at, I'm going to hit for sure. They're very accurate rifles. I would not want to have to procure them, though, because they're expensive.
Yeah.
Even now, they're expensive.
Yeah. I've been meaning to get one for a while, and they're just when they come up, people want kind of top money for them.
Yes.
The magazine, the rotary mag is so weird and funky. Like, I want it just because of how weird it is, and it's 6.5. I want all the 6.5.
Yes.
But it is weird.
Yeah, the 6.5 is a beautiful, nice light cartridge. Light recoil, which recoil doesn't, if you're fighting, doesn't matter, but light recoiling, flat shooting, very well performing.
Yeah. So it's a decent stand-in.
Yes.
The Dutch. different magazine, but the bolt's pretty much the same.
The top is the same.
And it's slick.
You know, yes, very.
There's slick as snot running the bolt on one of these.
Yes.
So you can be about as fast with it as you can be with anything else.
Yes.
I prefer bent bolt handles. I guess one of mine doesn't, but I prefer the bent bolt handles. But, on some guns like this, I kind of prefer straight bolts on Monnlicher Schonauers. The bolt handle being forward of the receiver bridge, something about that. I like this straight bolt with that.
Being lefty, it's nicer.
Oh,
because
yeah,
I can run it with my right hand. I just missed it, but
yeah.
I can run it with my right hand easier. So I actually like the straight bolts. The bent bolts, it's sometimes hard for me to get under quickly and come up and over. So
yeah, you ever just thought about shooting right-handed?
I have
correctly,
but I've just chosen to do it wrong because I'm better at it than most.
Oh, so you have to handicap yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I get it. So my number 2 is it's the K98 AZA, A/AZ, whatever the cool kids are calling it nowadays. I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory. It's a good, solid Mauser 98 action. 8mm, yeah, it's quite a bit of recoil out of this gun, but it's fairly well tamed because of the length. This is pretty long. It's not really the carbine length. It's a short rifle length, which I would want anything longer than this. And the 1917 is for sure longer than a short rifle like this. And this is surprisingly light. The K98A is lighter than a K98K. It's lighter than a lot of other short rifles of its time. So side slung, reliable, light, not overly long. It's not as short as I like it to be, but it's not overly long. Very adequate cartridge. Nothing. It's got great stopping power. 5-round standard reliable mag. It's just kind of the most boring choice maybe, but
it is.
It's good.
Yeah.
It is good. Which now when we go from the number 2 to the number 1, I'm just going to hand this over to you because we talked about this.
Yes.
And this is his number 1 choice.
Yes. We chose beforehand, and I never changed my mind. He's like, "This is my number 2." I'm like, "Okay." It doesn't. Yeah. I love these. It's Mauser action. The nice thing that neither of us have mentioned before would be ammunition quality is terrible in the wartime.
Yeah, it's true.
This is not going to fail. 03s did, which was an ammunition problem. 1917s did, which was an ammunition problem. These are tough and very light, very handy. Everything you just said, I echo with. This is my number 1.
That's good. I feel like this might be the most boring.
Yeah, I know. It's so good. It is boring because it's just good.
Yeah, it's just a good Mauser. People might be wondering what this is.
Yes.
This is the K98A's little muzzle cover dealio that just looks weird on it. In case you're wondering.
Yes.
I was looking for one of those for a long time. I finally found one at the gun show. I wanted like $20 for it. I was like, shut up and take my money.
Yep.
It's a legit German one too, not Polish. So yeah, it's a solid number 2.
It's a better number 1.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I cannot think of a different one that I would rather have. Definitely not an Enfield.
I almost picked an Enfield for my number 3.
Nope.
It was mostly a size thing.
Couldn't do it.
But it's good. I would most definitely rather have the K98A over a Gewehr 98.
Yes.
Holy moly.
Yeah, they're heavy. And the sights
heavy
with
and
the
long,
big...
and the sights that...
Yeah.
Speaking of sights that block all your sights,
yeah.
Just having the roller coasters. Now, there's like a minute of man kind of thing you can do with the roller coaster sights where you kind of pretend like the roller coaster sights are like a big like rear aperture sight.
Mm-hmm.
And for like point shooting up close, so you just kind of like put the front sight anywhere in between the two, tall
wings.
Yeah, on the rear sight, and you can just kind of move that around, and it's kind of like a big open rear sight. So
like a buckhorn.
Yeah, just like kind of like a buckhorn rear sight, which I don't know if that had any influence on actually the design or anything. But that is one thing you can do. But crazy long G98s, I feel bad for the guys that had to get one of those. I'm sure the guys in the trenches much preferred the K98As. That should have been. I'm kind of surprised the Germans really didn't like adopt the K98A after the war instead of the K98K. But I know it had to do with other stuff, but not to get into any of that. Now my number one pick is Mauser-ish. It's kind of, in some people's opinion, an improved or simplified Mauser. The Armasaka 38, just Armasaka name. It's more like a Nambu 38. But I really like the 38 carbine. First off, it's another 6.5 gun, so it's a great, light, flat shooting cartridge, and especially, I didn't mention this earlier, when it comes to like carrying ammo, having a 6.5 cartridge means, you can carry more ammo for the same weight as with other guns. Side slung, nice light handy, tons of safety features, built into the gun, so it'll keep you safe if you have a ruptured cartridge or something like that. The dust cover is really nice. I know this didn't see like European, issuance or anything, but like, if you had to pick a gun to go into the trenches with, having a gun with a built-in dust cover is pretty nice.
Yeah, they were dust covering other rifles.
Yeah,
because of.
I mean, like having a dust cover that's like designed and built into the gun instead of something that's just kind of slapped on afterwards. This is definitely a nice thing. If it just had a turn-down bolt handle, that'd be nice too. But based on a Mauser, but stronger. Maybe more reliable. The weird thing is it has a dust cover, but it has the two holes drilled in the receiver to vent the gas if there's a ruptured case. But like stuff can get in the holes.
Yeah.
So there's a dust cover to keep stuff from getting in the action, but then there's two holes that go straight to like the most sensitive part of the gun,
where you don't want mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that failed whenever InRange did their mud test.
Oh.
Of the 38, they got in the holes. Now, if you put like a piece of electrical tape or something over this, I bet that would prevent it. But not like guys had that in World War I or anything. But yeah, I think this is my number. This is my number one. Light, handy, great features.
Yeah, very handy. Just
decent sights.
Wrong hand.
Oh,
there we go. That's better.
Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah. I think May actually said the same thing in hers. They did a video on their top 5 guns, I think.
I think or 10. Yeah. She chose the same one. Hers might have been a 44 with a fixed bayonet.
Oh yeah, I can't remember if it was the 38 or the 44. But yeah, they made, in case you didn't know, they also made basically a 38 carbine but with an attached bayonet, which I'm not a big fan of attached bayonets.
Yeah.
So now we did our 3s. Now honorable mention. Yours is hilarious.
Yeah.
What's your honorable mention now?
The label. Because I'm gonna die. And that means the next guy doesn't have to carry this thing.
Yeah, hopefully the rifle dies
with
you.
Me. Yeah.
So you don't have to carry.
Because this is heavy and terrible. Like
a tube fed. Yeah.
Yeah, single shot after you're empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, we talked about it. When you're like, you have a label, you cycle through your 8 rounds in the magazine.
Yeah.
You're not gonna just stop in combat and just reload. Like, hey, hang on, I gotta reload the tube.
Time out.
No, you're just like quickly gonna be dumping around in there, chambering it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that would be first guy's artillery casualties. That's me. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah. My honorable mention, wild card. I don't really exactly have one, but it would be the Artillery Luger. I think I would, this is before like the submachine gun. So like not MP18, but I would take. This is a former Artillery Luger that was shortened after the war, but I would take an Artillery Luger with with the 30 round or whatever
Trommel mag,
Trommel mag, and a stock I think that would be the bee's knees. I think I'd probably take that. And that goes back to one of the other convos about like having a rifle or like a pistol caliber carbine in a trench up close.
PCC, yeah.
Yeah. Pistol caliber, it's fine. Having a large capacity versus now you wouldn't necessarily want that. If they're no man's land is like 200 yards and you have to shoot way far out there. But up close, sweeping trenches.
Yeah.
Artillery Luger, which was probably one of the first PDWs, I believe. I think that was the whole thing with the Artillery Luger. It was meant for personal defense weapon, so like to protect the artillery troops, stuff like that.
From cavalry.
Yep. So, because cavalry's always been the bane of artillery, and that was sort of their like issue. Was that like on the battlefield, you'd send the cavalry around and they'd attack the artillery. So it's like a interesting like kind of rock paper scissors.
Artillery, infantry, and cavalry are the three pieces of rock paper scissors for that. Yes.
Yeah. So which carried over a little bit, and I think the discussion of like what's your favorite like bolt action rifle or really kind of any rifle to bring into a World War is most relevant when it comes to World War I, because like after World War I, the individual's rifle
doesn't matter as
much. I think World War I was really the war where like the individual rifle mattered more.
Yeah.
We can all think of at least one battle probably from World War I where like the infamous like machine gun infield battle where supposedly the German soldiers thought they were being shot at by machine guns.
Was it the Marne?
I can't remember the name of it.
I think it was the Marne.
Yeah.
They thought they were being under fire from machine guns because the first guys from the BEF, the actual trained soldiers, were good.
Oh yeah, those guys before they all died. They were good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it actually did matter a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Before submachine guns, when there was just pretty much only heavy machine guns and just like there's like a sprinkling of some odd automatic rifles and that kind of thing. But really, bolt action was kind of king of World War I. That was the big thing. When you stormed trenches, most guys had bolt action. So I think it's the most relevant in World War I too, because by World War II,
throwing a light machine gun and
which I'm just like a big bolt action rifle fan in general. So I think it's most fun to talk about it in World War I context, because after that it's like, no, don't make them anymore.
They become cheaper as well, if that makes any sense. They're not as nicely made, refined. The stampings are cheaper. They they took less time. Which
is interesting. Like the Germans, of at the end of World War II, they went real cheap with stampings and stuff like that. But in World War I, like now by the end of the war, still they were like high quality, all milled and like expertly numbered on every part and everything. Like they didn't cut any corners in World War I. So it was released with some of their stuff. But the ersatz program aside, which was kind of an early war thing, is it sort of the opposite. So like in World War II, like there's like ersatz stuff like towards the end as a like replacement. But in the beginning, because they had to scale up real fast, all the ersatz stuff was like a stopgap. Because they didn't have enough stuff in the beginning.
Gewehr 88s and...
Gewehr 88s, those like real crappy ersatz bayonets that are like all stamped sheet metal kind of thing.
Yes.
So those were like a early war deal.
Yeah.
But,
late, like 1916 or 1917, they finally were able to arm all of their soldiers with the same rifle or family of rifles, the AZ-A and the Gewehr 98.
Yeah. Which the 88, the Gewehr 88 did serve an important role as a stopgap.
Yes.
And it's good. And one of my favorite videos is the video of Ian and Carl when they were both shooting. And Carl had a Gewehr 88, or was it an 8805? And Ian had an infield.
Yeah.
And Ian's infield is just jamming constantly at the range.
Yeah.
And the 88 is just chugging along.
Yeah.
Just fine.
They just chug along.
Yeah. Which is funny. I'm sure people are going to hate that. I'll put the video up here so you can watch it yourself. That came from InRange and Ian. So let us know what your top 3 would be. We're curious. Let us know if you think our choices are dumb, because we know that his choices are probably miscued because of his handicap, his left-handedness. So you can tell him how wrong he is. It's okay. You could take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Like always, I appreciate everybody for watching and doing everything for the channel. So cool. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later.
See ya.